Okay, today we're going to be putting it all together and we're going to be mixing all of our factoring skills. It's very hard to see with this hair. All right, so basically, we have to figure out which one we're going to use, which of our factoring skills. We have 4 of them. Our greatest common factor, our factoring by grouping, our trinomials, and our differences squares. All right, so we're going to use this flow chart, and we're going to give you one of these flow charts in order to help you out. All right, if you don't have a printer, you can just reproduce it on a piece of paper to help you out. If you're unfamiliar with a flow chart, you just answer the questions and follow the arrows. All right, so the first thing we're always going to look for is there a greatest common factor? So let's do an example. Let's say we have 2x squared plus 12x plus 16. All right, so the first thing we want to ask is there a greatest common factor? All right, so the answer here is yes. We have a greatest common factor of 2. This is 2 times x times x. This is 2 times 6 times x. And that's 2 times 8. So 2 is our GCF, and it goes to the front. What's left is what goes inside the parentheses. So x and x, so that's x squared, plus 6 times x, so 6x, plus 8. All right, so we factored out the GCF, and we're going to continue with what is left in the parentheses. So this 2 is just going to kind of hang out for later. And now we're just going to deal with the x squared plus 6x plus 8. And we're going to look how many terms. Well, there's 3. So that's our factoring trinomials. And if you remember our factoring trinomials, we have our a, which is 1, our b, which is 6, and our c, which is 8. We multiply a times c to get 8. That's our multiply term. And that's our add term. So we're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to get 8 and add to get 6, which is 4 and 2. Then we're going to break that middle term up and rewrite with our variables. So that's 4x and 2x. All I did was break up that 6x. And now we factor by group. Group these 2 together, take out the GCF. Group these 2 together, take out the GCF. Outsides go together. That's x plus 2. Second parenthesis is my inside. Don't forget to put that GCF back. And now this is factored completely. Dominated. Let's try another. Pink is fresh. Let's try 20, let's go x cubed minus 5x. All right, is there a GCF? Yes. So we're going to factor out the GCF and continue with what's left in parentheses. So 20 and 5 has a GCF of 5. So that's 5 times 4 times x times x times x. That's 5 times 1 times x. What's common? Well, the 5 and an x. So 5x is my GCF. And what I'm left with, 4x squared minus 1. So again, I'm going to have that GCF hang out and not bother us. And we're going to proceed with what's left in the parentheses. So we're there. How many terms? There's 2, so that's our difference of squares. All right, it is subtraction. And these are both perfect squares, so our difference of squares does in fact work. So we do, what's the square root of that? That's just 2x. What's the square root of that? That's just 1. One of them plus, one of them minus. Don't forget to put that GCF back. Cool. Let's try one more. So 2x squared minus 7x minus 30. All right, is there a GCF? In this case, the answer is no. Feels like you might want to pull out a 2, but the 7, 2 doesn't go into 7. So these do not have a GCF. How many terms? 3. So we're just going to factor the trinomial. All right, our A is 2, our B is negative 7, our C is negative 30. Multiply A times C, it's negative 60. That's my multiply term. And that's my add term. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply to get negative 60 and add to get negative 7. All right, so I'm trying to run through. If I struggle, I can think of all the numbers that multiply to get negative 60. All right, 1 and 60, 2 and 30, 3 and 20, 4 and 15, 5 and 12, 6 and 10, and I believe that to be it. All right, the 5 and 12, you may notice, if I make the 12 negative, those do add to get negative 7. So let's break that up. I'm going to rewrite that negative 7x into a plus 5x and a minus 12x. And now I factor by grouping. All right, the GCF here, 2 and 5 don't have one, but you notice that there's x's in both, so it's just 1x. So that'd be 1 times 2, x times x, and then 1 times 5 times x. So just 1 and x are my GCF, which 1x is just x. X, 2x plus 5, what's left? 2x and 5. Over here, notice this negative in front. So I'm going to take out a negative GCF, and that's negative 6. So that's negative 6 times 2 times x, and that's negative 6 times 5. And this actually ends up being a plus because when you're multiplying there, right, that's just going to change that sign. So negative 6, I can't take out an x because there's no x over there. Boom. Outsides, x minus 6. Insides, 2x plus 5. Circle it. And that's our answer. All right. Hope everyone does okay on this. I'll include the flowchart with some examples. And you'll have another assignment. We're probably going to do 2 assignments, maybe 3, on our mixed factoring. And after that, we will move on to the next topic. Peace.